Hello and welcome to Three Questions with. Got my friend Alysa with us. And today we're going to talk a little bit about pay transparency. Alysa, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Morning. Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about pay transparency. I've just been seeing this in the news a lot, and I never really gave it any thought until I'm like, geez, it seems to be a major issue now. What's going on?
So a lot of states are talking about adding pay transparency requirements to their job postings. So part of that value is to eliminate and reduce some of those racial inequities that play into part, and also some of those, female versus male pay inequities that are involved. But also, really just being transparent about what that pay looks like in that particular role. And so certain states, Colorado and New York thus far, have made it a requirement that job postings have the pay ranges within the posting itself. And I'm a firm believer that we should, even if your state hasn't made it a law, you should get ahead of this and start to be a leader in pay transparency.
Well, to me, it's more common sense. Like, okay, so you're actively looking for a job. You see this job, you apply and find out it's not within your pay scale that you're looking for. So to me, it's just a disservice to both sides. I see a resume, oh my God, she would be amazing for this job. And I interview and I'm like, oh, I'd like to make you an offer. And you're like, it's not even close to what I'm looking for. Isn't it really just common sense too?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is, and it's really setting those expectations early. A lot of times I tell the job seekers I work with, or even the clients that I'm supporting, you should be having that conversation about pay in your initial phone screen, right? That should be when you have it, not waiting until the offer comes, not waiting until you've had an interview. You want to have that conversation up front, just because of the fact that you want to make sure everybody is on the same page. But yes, I mean, why am I going to apply to a position that might be well underneath what I'm looking for?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. So this is where it gets a little tricky. We had a little conversation before the show on this one. A lot of companies don't have active pay scales. We just kind of haphazardly hire people, and then you might be in a situation where you have people doing very similar jobs. In fact, probably this exact same job, and they could be making considerably different money. How does all this pay transparency factor into that?
So that's part of what is trying to be avoided, right? Because if you have that, even if you're not intentionally doing it from discrimination purposes, it can look like that if the male is making more or if there's a white professional making more. So you really want to avoid that. Part of what I say to companies is that they should be doing a compensation analysis every single year to understand how that pay has changed year after year, to make sure that one, they're still offering what is market value for those particular years of experience and in the market, and also account for that inflation increase. And then when you're looking at that pay transparency, really creating policies around how you're implementing that into your organization. So for me, it's not just about having it on your job postings, but really having every employee understand, if I want to go from a level 1 to a level 2 because I want to get a $2 an hour pay increase, how do I accomplish that? What are the things that I need to do in order to get to that next level so that I can get the pay increase that I'm looking for?
How do you factor in just someone who's been there 20 years? If you're in an organization that doesn't have pay scales, just, hey, she's been with us 20 years, she's gotten her annual percentage. And when you compare that person to other people on the team, they might be making $6 an hour more than everyone else. How do you factor that in?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things. So that person obviously has, 20 years of experience where the other person may not. And also having that tribal knowledge is really essential, right? So you are paying for that tribal knowledge that that person has gained in your organization and in that role. So they are sort of a level expert. Sometimes what happens is those people don't grow to managers and then they're like, how do I get the next pay bump? And really it's about making them a trainer, right? So taking those people that are making maybe $6 less than them and teaching them how to grow, how to develop into that next level, as long as they're a good trainer, right? But giving them additional responsibilities so that that pay that you're paying them above and beyond also says, okay, well, they have some additional responsibilities that this other person might not.
Yep, that's definitely a good solution stuff. And it's just people who, I've worked with people who just, they want to stay in the job they're in. They don't ever want to be the manager. They're like, you know what? I just like what I do. I make the money I want to make. and they're just happy and stuff. But sometimes I found when we bring in younger people who, like we talked a little bit about before the show, may feel like they have better skill sets than someone who's been there 20 years, who in their eyes hasn't really grown. That's where sometimes we see frustration. It's like, I wish I made that. But again, like you said, there is something to be said for experience. So how do you keep the younger people, the people just looking at saying, I feel I have the same skill set Kev does, but yet $6 an hour difference?
I believe it's about having open, transparent conversations, right? It's all about that communication. So yes, having that policy in place is really good to be able to point back to and say, here's how we determine our pay ranges within our organization, and giving them, we go and do the compensation analysis, and then talks about, how we rank our levels, right? But also then having a conversation to say, you might not necessarily understand what other functions that person is doing. You might also not understand the previous experience of that individual. And so let's focus the conversation on your experience and how we can get you to where you want to go. It might not be a next year problem. It might not be the year after that, but how do we build a plan so that you are consistently growing monetarily? And so building that out and having those transparent conversations, because sometimes what they don't realize is that, maybe the difference or the wrong way or the faster way or whatever way that they see that's different from what they're doing to the person above them or next to them or wherever, might be intentional. It might be that the manager wants it done that way. It might be that individual has learned it that way, right? And there could be better ways, but it doesn't mean that either is wrong.
Right. So how do people reach out to you? How do they learn more if they want to have a discussion about this topic?
So you can visit apeoplepartnerllc.com. There you will find my phone number, my email, everything that you need to get in touch with me, my LinkedIn post. And there you'll also find an article on there that's called Be a Leader in Change and Implement Pay Transparency Now, which talks all about pay transparency. And you can check that out right on my blog's news and podcast page.
Awesome. I appreciate you taking a couple minutes to call on the show. And as always, thanks for being my friend.
Thank you.